Hi, my name is Scott. Yesterday, September the 8th, was the very first in person school board meeting that has happened since this whole COVID thing began. So I signed up on Friday after we got an email indicating that there would be in person comments taken. And when I signed up, I think like other people, it indicated there would be about 5 minutes. I get there, and there's probably about a total of 12 people to present to the board, and they trimmed it back to 1 minute. Now I can understand that if there was 100 people there, maybe even 50, but 12 people to go from 5 minutes to 1 minute. I prepared comments for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and 5 minutes. So if anybody had seen any of the comments that I made, I was a bit aggressive, partially because I was annoyed that there was no good reason for them to cut the time, and the other part was I was thrown off my game because I had things prepared for a certain amount of time. In any case, I thought what I would do is just put a little video out there and share the 5 minute comments that I had, just so that others could, you know, understand what it is I'm trying to convey and get across. So if you'll work with me, I'll go ahead and go through this real quick. And again, this is if I'm addressing the board. You think that all black people act in the same and destructive, violent manner as BLM or the hatred of America? Not likely. Do you know who would agree with this? White supremacists who marched in Charlottesville 3 years ago. LCPS is making a dangerous assumption that its 40,000 white students, teachers, and parents are unconsciously part of some white supremacist cabal. How does LCPS intend on dismantling white supremacy and systemic racism? Are they going to take arms up, give the students all guns, and go fight these white supremacists like what was in Charlottesville? Probably not. So here's what they are going to do. By implementing an action to combat systemic racism initiative. This initiative is, without exaggeration, meant to re-educate and indoctrinate white students using overtly racist theories like systemic racism, whiteness, white privilege, and implicit bias. Study the material. It's all there in black and white, if I can say that. Aligning, this is another part of their fantastic plan. Aligning with partners and providing resources to students and parents and teachers. This is great. This is good stuff. One partner, Racial Equity Tools. Racial Equity Tools has a lot of information on their site, but one of the things that I just wanted to highlight is they openly promote the defunding of police departments through promotional banners and partnership with Black Lives Matter and the Breath Act. The Breath Act is an act that the BLM movement has put together to try to stop defunding the police departments across the country. And as part of that would be they want to bring an end to any and all federal prisons. Racial Equity Tools also wants to transform white privilege. I don't know what that means. Another resource, Teaching Tolerance. This is the one that I guess people got postcards over or about. One of their one of their teaching options or lessons is why teaching about Black Lives Matter in schools is so important. I can give you 100 reasons why it's not. They also have, this is great, how to teach students Black Lives Matter student walkout toolkit. So if you want your kids to walk out of school in the middle of the day for some reason, then they have the resources to be able to understand how to put something like that together and do it. Isn't that great? Another resource, Center for Racial Justice and Education. Oh, this is good. Why your white 5-year-old child is racist. That's, okay, I don't even know what to say. Another one, how white parents should talk to their kids. Okay. 7 tips, this is good, 7 tips for white parents when talking to their kids about blacks murdered by cops. We don't want to see anybody murdered by cops. We don't want to see anybody murdered. But this is so egregious it's not even funny. Here's a good one. So here's another resource. Pretty good design. Great educational podcast Seeing White series, and there's 14 parts to this series of Seeing White. And this is the very first paragraph of series 1. Just what is going on with white people. Police shootings of unarmed blacks. Domestic terrorism by white supremacists. Renewed embrace of raw, undisguised white identity politics. Unending racial equality in schools, housing, criminal justice, and hiring. Some of this feels new, but in truth, it's an old story. This is a forced, radical, and racist social science experiment with the bogus pretense that systemic racism and implicit bias are the foundation to making America a great country. This is antagonistic and offensive. The narrative is not bound by any pragmatic or objective definitions. It's driven by ideological groupthink and the insidious critical race theory framework. What these people are doing is education. It's tantamount to educational malpractice. Okay, this isn't any educational material. Some closing thoughts. Two primary injustices, as far as I can see, with this quote-unquote action plan. One, they being LCPS, has spent an enormous amount of time, money, and resources in collaboration with the NAACP, a wide variety of equity partners, and the single best conclusion that they could come to create this action plan is to vilify, humiliate, and indoctrinate white students, teachers, and parents. How's that for your tax money? Here's the other thing that is grossly overlooked. LCPS and its partners provide a plethora of information around whiteness, white privilege, and anti-white everything else. Within all this material, do you know what's missing? I don't think they do. There's a complete disregard for mention regarding the massive number of innocent black lives that are lost each year, each weekend. Many of which are kids sitting in their house or their apartment and they get shot. Not by cops or white people. They're getting shot by people that live in their community. How about the school try dismantling this problem before they start pointing fingers at all the white people and telling us how bad we are? Victims and villains. Stop portraying students, teachers, and parents as victims and villains. Work through resentments. Don't build on them. That's ridiculous. If you're a victim of something, you need to outline what you are a victim of, and I will stand beside you. But do not blame the freest, most civil society in the history of the planet Earth. You cannot fix past injustices with current injustices. The Constitution is a document of freedom, not a document of ethnicity. People, this is a good one. Get to know people. Imagine that. Let's get to know people. Don't brand them as being white and privileged, implicitly biased, or associated with white supremacy. Get to know their views. Don't rewrite history. And don't re-educate kids on views you think they should have. Discuss with facts. Debate with facts. Be honest. Develop a thick layer of skin, because if the discussion is not uncomfortable, then you're not having the right discussion. And the discussion can't be one-sided like this is. LCPS and their sidekick NAACP. This is one-sided. And we keep going down this path, we're going to remain in the racist and radical shadows of the KKK, Jim Crow, Black Panthers, and oh yes, Black Lives Matter. Better American days. I think they can be ahead. It's not going to be easy, but we can do it. I do think America can see a better day. However, I think we're in a dark moment right now, but I think we can get to a brighter moment if we stop seeing each other as members of groups and assigning blame instead of seeing each other as individuals. Then and only then will race relations begin to improve. And the final note is provide parents with an opt-out option for this garbage, right? We don't. If you want your kid to be indoctrinated, fine, have at it. Do whatever you want to do. It's your kid, but don't force this garbage on all of us. And not to mention, where this is focused on white people, but this does a grave injustice to black people and other minorities as well, because they get skewed thinking that white people are the problem for every issue they've ever experienced, and that's just a false narrative that people should not have. If I've done something wrong to you, then I will apologize. But do not make it seem as if everything that we do is wrong, and therefore we need to carry around a 150-pound satchel of white guilt. It's ridiculous, okay? This is ridiculous. Okay, so those are my comments. I'm going to try, I'm not an iMovie guru. I'm going to try and break down each of these different segments of Loudoun County Public Schools resources and what they're doing. I've taken a lot of beating over the months because you guessed it, I'm a racist because I'm going against the grain. So whatever. That term is meaningless anymore, sadly. But my intent is to provide you. Some people absorb information better through video, so I'm kind of new to this, so this is not a fancy YouTube, whatever, clip, series, channel, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to try to get my son to help me out with this, so maybe it looks a little better. In any case, there's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot that people just don't know about what LCPS is doing. And everything I intend to share, every resource that they provide to the parents and students and teachers, this is all their information. This is not mine. This is not my creation. Trust me, I've got a job I got to do. I've got kids. I've got stuff to do. The last thing I need to do is sit here and create things out of thin air like a lot of these people on Facebook and where else seem to think that's what I'm doing. Whatever. I know the truth. And when you're dealing with the facts, when you're dealing with something as sensitive as this, you got to have the facts. And there's a lot of facts out there. There's a lot of information to sift through. Either I don't have a life or I find this stuff fascinating, or neither of which, and I'm just gravely concerned for what's going on in our school system. Again, my name is Scott. Some of you might also have seen me by the name of Vito. Now, I went with an alias because just trying to protect my family, because this is a really sensitive topic and everybody is just on edge and all this other kind of stuff. So this is me. My name is Scott. Please share this video if you think anybody might learn from it. If you don't like it and you think it's a bunch of garbage, well, pop a comment on YouTube and I'll disagree with you. Until then, thank you for your time and take care.